Out here, one mistake can cost you everything. On the African savanna, there is no forest to hide in, no mountains to shield you, no rivers that always flow. Just open grassland, burning sun by day, freezing winds by night, and predators watching from the shadows. And yet, this is home. For the tribes of the savanna, survival is not a challenge, it's a way of life. They walk the open plains with their cattle, moving with the rains, always listening to what the land is telling them. Every footstep is a calculation, every choice a matter of life or death. These people carry the wisdom of generations that learned to live where most would not last a day. They know when the lions hunt, when the grass will burn, when the clouds will finally break open with rain. This is the story of the savanna people, resilient, fearless, and bound to a land as harsh as it is beautiful. The Maasai, savanna grasslands of Kenya and Tanzania. In the wide, sun-bleached savannas of Kenya and Tanzania, where the land rolls endlessly toward a molten horizon, and the wind moves like a whisper from the ancestors, the Maasai walk with the grace of memory. This is not just where they live, it is who they are. Their red shukas ripple like flames against the pale grass, a symbol of defiance, dignity, and unbroken lineage. Here, there are no forests to hide in, no mountains to climb, only open earth, wide skies, and an ancient relationship between people, cattle, and land. To the Maasai, cattle are not possessions. They are the lifeblood of the world. Every child is born into a contract with the herd to protect, to nourish, to live in balance. A cow is not just a meal or a means, it is a connection to ancestors, a dowry for love, an offering to the spirits. Their milk feeds the children, their hides clothe the body, their presence blesses the soul. And when a storm rolls across the plains and lightning forks through the sky, the Maasai know which way the cattle will run before they even move. Young boys are trained not just to herd, but to observe, to watch the shadows of clouds, the gait of gazelles, the scent of wind. When they come of age, they become Moran's warriors. But this is not the violence of conquest. It is the discipline of guardianship. A warrior must be fierce enough to protect, but wise enough to let life grow. The rituals of initiation are not ceremonies of ego, but acts of transformation. Boys return to the earth and rise as men, carrying in their eyes the fire of the lion and the patience of the acacia. The Maasai believe the land speaks, and they know how to listen. Their songs rise not in temples, but beneath the open sky, where each footstep in the dust becomes a verse in a sacred poem. Their myths are carved into the shapes of the hills, their ancestry wrapped around the bones of baobab trees. Even the wind seems to carry echoes of elders long past it, guiding the next step, the next choice, the next generation. In a world rushing toward concrete and glass, the Maasai live in rhythm with rain and silence. They do not fear the future, but they do not forget the past. Their children are raised in circles, not rows. Their knowledge is sung, not stored. And in the open air, with no fences to hold them and no clocks to command them, they remind us of a truth so easily buried, that freedom is not in abundance, but in belonging to the land, to each other, to something older than time. The Samburu, northern Kenya savanna. In the harsh, unyielding expanse of northern Kenya, where the grass thins into thorn scrub and the rivers are more memory than motion, the Samburu endure not in defiance of the land, but in conversation with it. This is a world of sun and silence, of cracked red earth and winds that whisper through ancient stones. And here, the Samburu have learned the art of resilience not by bending the land to their will, but by learning to move with its moods. They are often compared to the Maasai, with whom they share ancestry and language. But the Samburu are a story of their own. Their lives orbit a center of stillness, cattle, family, ceremony. But every orbit is shaped by scarcity. Water must be earned. Grass must be followed. Each decision when to migrate, where to settle, how to trade is a negotiation not just with nature, but with survival itself. Their beadwork tells the story of who they are. Bright collars fan out from the women's necks like sunbursts, layers of turquoise, crimson, and gold, each pattern a signature of status, age, and tribe. Beads are not mere decoration, they are language. A woman can be read like a poem, her joys, her trials, her place in the world all told through color and rhythm. Men, too, wear their history not in beads, but in posture, in silence, in scars etched with pride and memory. Ceremony here is sacred, but never idle. When a boy becomes a man, it is not marked with speeches, but with acts of endurance, of courage, of silence. The elders teach him to listen to the earth, to know the feel of a storm long before it arrives, to recognize the shifting moods of goats and clouds alike. To become a Samburu man is not to dominate nature, it is to dissolve into it, to become another thread in its eternal weave. And the women, strong, radiant, rooted, carry entire communities in the way they walk, cook, gather, sing. They birth not only children, but continuity. Their lullabies are history lessons, their laughter resistance. In a world that too often overlooks the silent strength of women, the Samburu honor it openly, fiercely. Though the outside world presses in with cell towers, paved roads, promises of another life. The Samburu walk deliberately. Some paths they accept. Others they leave untouched. They know that not every map is made for their feet. In their dances, under stars that still know their names, the past and future meet like old friends. Their shadows stretch long in the twilight, not as relics of what was, but as reminders of what endures. In this place where the land gives little, the Samburu give back with everything they have: song, strength, patience, and pride. They are a people not simply surviving, but teaching us what it means to belong in a world that demands both humility and courage. The Turkana, northwestern Kenya, semi-arid grasslands. In the far-flung reaches of northwestern Kenya, where the land cracks open beneath a sky that knows no mercy, the Turkana people have made the impossible feel like home. Here, the earth is hard, and the horizon endless, the winds scalding, and the trees few. This is a place where drought is not an event, it is a rhythm. And yet, the Turkana thrive, not in defiance of the land, but in sacred dialogue with it. They are pastoral nomads, moving with the sun and stars, guiding their goats, camels, entraptas, and cattle through a region others would call barren. But for the Turkana, every patch of scrubland holds a memory. Every dry riverbed tells a story. Their ancestors walked these same paths, following the whispers of the wind, reading the shadows for signs of rain or warning. And in every footstep lies an inheritance of survival. Their homes, called awi, are made from branches and woven mats, domed like the earth itself, portable and patient. They are built to be taken down, carried, and rebuilt not once, but 100 times over a lifetime. Because permanence to the Turkana is not measured in buildings. It is measured in resilience. In this landscape, cattle are not wealth in the way the world understands it. They are life, status, love, memory, and prophecy. A man's worth is counted not in what he owns, but in how well he listens to his herd. When a calf is born, it is given a name as carefully as a child. When a cow is lost, grief echoes louder than thunder. Their livestock are living stories of lineage, of trade, of war and peace. Rites of passage are marked not by calendar, but by courage. Young warriors paint their faces in ash and ochre, and older men carry the lines of their struggles carved into skin. And while women often remain unseen by outsiders, within the community, their roles are powerful. They are decision makers, bead weavers, water seekers, the architects of continuity. In these scorched lands, where even the acacia trees twist in the heat, the Turkana remind us of a deeper truth: that life does not need lushness to be full, that culture does not need conquest to be proud, and that the fiercest beauty often rises from the driest ground. The Karamojong, Karamoja region, Uganda savanna. Across the border in northeastern Uganda, where the savanna hums with heat and the grasslands roll out like a parchment of gold, live the Karamojong, a people sculpted by hardship and softened by heritage. Theirs is a world of dry winds, thorny acacias, and skies so wide they seem to swallow the earth. And within it, they have written a culture of fierce elegance, shaped by cattle and carried by song. The Karamojong are herders, but they are more than that. They are guardians of tradition, keepers of ritual, and warriors of patience. Their cattle are not possessions, they are destiny. Every movement of the herd is calculated with ancestral precision. When to migrate, when to wait, when to fight. Because here, where the rains are unpredictable and borders invisible, survival is not given, it is earned. Young boys become Karachuna's warrior apprentices long before their voices deepen. They live separately from the elders, forging bonds in hardship, sleeping beneath stars, and learning to read the land like scripture. They don't learn war for conquest. They learn it for protection of community, of cattle, of dignity. For to lose a cow here is not to lose a meal, but to lose a part of oneself. Women hold the quiet strength of the Karamojong world. They bead with intention, weaving color and meaning into necklaces that shimmer with sunlight and history. They grind millet with the rhythm of time. They carry water not just in pots, but in patience. And in the quiet corners of dusk, when the fires burn low and the night grows kind, they sing lullabies of memory, laments of loss, and praises for strength yet to come. In this region, modernity has tried to draw lines through aid, through politics, through pressure. But the Karamojong remain rooted in a wisdom the world often overlooks: that movement can be sacred, that identity can be fluid without being lost, and that culture does not weaken under pressure, it crystallizes. They walk barefoot across hot earth not because they must, but because they always have. And with each step, they echo something ancient, that a people who live close to the land live close to truth. The Dinka, floodplain grasslands of South Sudan. In the great floodplains of South Sudan, where the Nile spills over into fields of trembling green and the air is thick with insects and prophecy, the Dinka move like silhouettes etched in water. They are among the tallest people on earth, and they carry that height not as pride, but as presence towering not just in body, but in spirit, in culture, in memory. The Dinka do not build cities. They build relationships with cattle, with ancestors, with the land itself. Their homes rise and fall with the floods. Their herds move in tandem with the rivers. And their songs, long, lyrical, unhurried, stretch across the plains like the shadows of clouds before the rain. Cattle are the heartbeat of Dinka life. Each has a name. Each is sung to. Each is known like a family member. In the Woot, the sacred cattle camp boys sleep with their animals, waking before dawn to smear themselves in ash, warding off insects and becoming part of the herd in both scent and soul. The ash is their shield, the cattle their companions, and the smoke that rises from their fires is not just warmth, it is language, it is memory, it is prayer. When a child is born, the naming ceremony is not rushed. It is watched. It is dreamed. It is spoken only when the name arrives like a river returning to its source. When a warrior returns from battle, his praise song is crafted not from victory, but from valor, not what he did, but how he did it. And when someone dies, their soul is not mourned in silence, but lifted in song floated out across the savannah in rhythm and rhyme. The Dinka live between flood and famine, between abundance and absence, but they do not flinch. Their resilience is quiet, their faith unshaken. They are people of the in-between, where land becomes water, where sleep becomes vision, where cattle become kin. In these ever-changing fields, where the earth breathes with the rhythm of rivers, the Dinka teach us something the modern world is too busy to hear. That identity is not in concrete or currency, it is in community, in memory, and in the long, slow songs of people who still remember how to listen. The Nuer, grasslands of South Sudan. In the vast open grasslands of South Sudan, where the wind hums through reeds and the earth floods and dries in endless rhythm, the Nuer people walk between water and sky like ancient spirits made flesh. This is a land shaped by the Nile, and the Nuer have shaped themselves to match it fluid, flexible, yet enduring. To outsiders, this might look like a place of uncertainty, but to the Nuer, it is home a living map of ancestry, survival, and the sacred. They are cattle people, not in symbol only, but in soul. From the moment a child takes their first steps, they are drawn to the herd. The cattle are not merely owned, they are family. Each one has a name. Each name is remembered. And when a bull dies, it is not just a loss of meat, but the passing of a memory, a guardian, a thread in the fabric of identity. The bond is intimate. Cows are sung to, blessed, mourned. Milk is not just nourishment, it is communion. Their bodies carry stories that words often cannot hold. Boys come of age beneath the careful hand of an elder, blade in hand, carving intricate scars into the forehead's 6 parallel lines, deep and deliberate. This is not pain for pain's sake. It is sacrifice, transformation, and proof that one has stepped across the invisible boundary between child and man. No anesthesia, no flinching, only silence. Because silence, too, is a form of language here, a kind that speaks of courage and of dignity unspoken. Spiritual life hums quietly beneath the surface. The God Quoth is everywhere in the breath of cattle, in the wind before the rain, in the hush before dawn. But when chaos descends, it is not to warriors the people turn. It is to prophets. Newer prophets do not read books, they read dreams. They do not shout, they listen. In visions and whispers, they become interpreters of destiny, midwives of truth in a world that often forgets how to listen. Even through civil war and famine, displacement and drought. The Nuer remain a people of impossible resilience. They carry their ancestors on their backs, their children in their arms, and their identity in the marrow of their bones. In a world obsessed with borders, they remind us of something deeper, that to belong is not always to possess, but to remember, to protect, and to pass on. The Borana, semi-arid rangelands of Ethiopia and Kenya. In the southern rangelands where Ethiopia kisses Kenya, and where the sky stretches endlessly over ochre plains and sun-baked acacia trees, the Borana people have built a world not from wealth or abundance, but from wisdom carved into time itself. This is not a gentle land. The air is dry, the soil stubborn, and the rains uncertain. Yet the Borana have thrived here for over 1,000 years, not through domination, but through balance. At the heart of their society lies a system older than many nations, Gada. Gada is not just a political structure, it is philosophy made practical. Time for the Borana is not counted in hours or days, but in cycles, 8-year intervals where roles change, power rotates, and life renews itself. Each man passes through generations of leadership, learning, and duty. Elders don't rule with fists, they lead with memory. These sacred roles are not random, they are earned through ritual, debate, and deep community trust. Disputes are settled not by courts, but by council beneath sacred trees, where words are weighed heavier than weapons. And through Gada, the Borana teach their sons not how to conquer, but how to listen, how to govern with humility, how to be responsible stewards of people, cattle, and land. The Borana are pastoralists, yes, but their relationship with animals is spiritual, not utilitarian. Their wells run deep, not just physically, but culturally. Built with bare hands generations ago, some stretch dozens of meters below the ground and are passed down like heirlooms. Tending these wells is a communal ritual. Lines of men pass water up, bucket by bucket, rhythm by rhythm, while children and elders gather in the shade, telling stories that cool the soul better than any breeze. Their god, Wak, is above, but never far. Prayers are sung, not shouted. Life is approached not with anxiety, but with presence. Even in scarcity, there is grace in the way they share food, the way elders pass on songs, the way their eyes reflect both hardship and peace. And though climate change and encroaching modernization threaten the old rhythms, the Borana endure like the wells they carved, quietly, patiently, with strength hidden in silence. In their way of life, we see a model the world urgently needs, one where power is earned, resources are shared, and time itself is treated with reverence. The Fulani, West African savanna across multiple countries. Across the sprawling savannas of West Africa, from the dusty plains of Mali to the fertile pastures of Nigeria, through Senegal, Guinea, Cameroon, and beyond, the Fulani move, like wind given shape. No single nation holds them. No single river defines them. They are the great nomads of Africa, a people without borders, yet never without identity. Their culture is vast, yet their core is simple. Pulaku. It is an unspoken code, a philosophy of grace, dignity, and restraint. Pulaku is the reason a Fulani herder walks tall, speaks softly, and never reveals pain. It is why they dress with quiet elegance, carry themselves with gentle pride, and treat even hardship with composure. To be Fulani is not just to belong to a group, It is to uphold a standard of being. They are herders, known for their zebu cattle with crescent-shaped horns. But herding is not a profession. It is an art, a centuries-old choreography between human and animal, between instinct and inheritance. A Fulani boy may walk for days with nothing but a flute and a stick, guiding a herd across shimmering heat waves toward remembered watering holes passed down in story, not map. Their migration paths form invisible veins through the continent, carrying culture, language, and music wherever they go. And oh, the music, flutes made of reed, calabash drums slung over shoulders, voices rising in call and response songs of longing, of exile, of rain that never came. Poetry flows like breath among them, carried by griots, who weave the past into melody and teach children to remember not just with minds, but with hearts. Not all Fulani remain nomadic. Some have settled in villages, cities, or among other ethnic groups. But whether in motion or rooted, their identity is unmistakable. Hairstyles shaped like crowns, robes stitched with sky-colored thread, eyes that have watched generations move across deserts and rivers without losing the thread of who they are. In a world that confuses movement with displacement, the Fulani teach us that to roam is not to be lost. It is to be found in many places, and yet never divided. That home is not a location, but a lineage. That honor, held quietly, can echo louder than power shouted from rooftops. The Himba, Northern Namib Desert, Savannah, Namibia. In the arid reaches of northern Namibia, where the sky glows white with heat and the horizon trembles like a living thing, the Himba people walk the desert not as strangers to hardship, but as sculptors of survival. Their homeland is a canvas of sun-scorched soil, thorny shrubs, and silence so vast it seems to hum. And yet, in this darkness, the Himba have built a culture that glows fierce, elegant, and unshaken. What strikes the eye first is the color. A deep red, rich, earthen. Sacred, the Himba coat their skin with odjize, a paste of ochre, butterfat, and herbs. It shields them from the sun, yes, but more than that, it roots them. It is beauty and ritual, health and heritage. Women apply it daily, not merely as adornment, but as communion with the land that birthed them. Their bodies become walking landscapes, dust turned flesh, memory turned motion. Himba life is centered around cattle. These are not just animals, they are inheritance, currency, and spirit. The kraal, the sacred cattle enclosure, is placed with intention, always in relation to the ancestral fire. This fire is never allowed to die, for it connects the living to the dead, the present to the eternal. Every major decision, every ritual, every moment of meaning begins with embers glowing in silence. Gender roles here are clear, but not static. Women bear the weight of continuity, raising children, tending homes, keeping traditions alive through hairstyles, jewelry, and oral histories passed down like sacred scripts. Men, often away herding cattle, return not just with livestock, but with news, dreams, and the quiet pride of having kept the family name alive in the wilderness. Even in modern times, the Himba resist erosion, not just of land, but of identity. While others build fences and forget, the Himba remember with every red-streaked face, every calf born under starlight, every story told around the fire in a language that bends like wind. They remind the world that tradition is not a cage, it is a compass. And in a desert where water is scarce and time is slow, they flourish not despite the land, but because of it. The Zulu, grasslands of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. In the rolling hills and grasslands of KwaZulu-Natal, where rain falls in sudden bursts and the earth smells of ancestors, the Zulu still sing the old songs. Far from the modern heartbeat of Durban or Johannesburg, in rural valleys where the wind moves like breath over fields of sugarcane and wild aloe, Zulu communities keep alive a legacy that once shook empires. To be Zulu is to carry the weight and wonder of memory. It is to speak a language heavy with poetry, where even greetings echo with respect. It is to dance not just for joy, but for history bodies lifted in izakathamia rhythm, feet pounding like drums against the ground, voices rising in harmonies that split the sky. Though many remember Shaka Zulu, the warrior king who carved a nation with spear and strategy, the strength of rural Zulu life lies not only in its history of war, but in its culture of care. Cattle remain the center of economy and ceremony. A man's herd is his pride, his dowry, his promise. Cattle are exchanged in marriage negotiations, blessed in ancestral rites, and sacrificed in times of transition. Death, birth, cleansing. To the Zulu, the cow is not simply meat. It is memory, wrapped in hide. Homesteads here are arranged in circles, reflecting the cycle of life and the value of family. The kraal lies at the heart where elders gather, where disputes are settled, where spirits are called. The Lozi ancestral spirits are not distant figures. They are here, in dreams, in wind, in sudden intuition. To disrespect an ancestor is to shake the very bones of one's future. Women, too, hold power not in loud declarations, but in the rhythm of everyday life. They carry water on their heads, babies on their backs, wisdom in their eyes. Through beadwork, they speak unspoken truths about love, mourning, fertility, and resistance. Every color, every pattern, is language. Even as rural Zulu communities face pressures from modernization, migration, and climate shifts, they remain anchored. They adapt, but they do not dissolve. In their fields, in their fires, in the quiet dignity of their ceremonies, they teach that power need not roar. Sometimes it simply stands tall and remembers. The Xhosa, Eastern Cape Savanna regions, South Africa. In the Eastern Cape, where the hills roll like stories and the sky glows soft with morning mist, the rural Xhosa people live between myth and mountain. Their villages perch above valleys like thoughts waiting to be spoken. Their lives are stitched into the land not imposed, but grown like maize from ancestral soil. The Xhosa are a people of sound of clicks, hums, rhythms that rise from the throat like music made flesh. Their language, isiXhosa, is not merely spoken. It dances. Each syllable shaped by breath and tradition, each sentence a living song. To listen to it is to hear not just communication, but creation. At the heart of Xhosa, life is ulwaluko, the rite of male initiation. It is not a ceremony. It is a transformation. Young boys are taken to the bush, away from mothers and sisters, away from softness, and there they become men not through cruelty, but through discipline, endurance, and silence. They are cut not just in flesh, but in worldview. When they return, wrapped in white blankets, eyes deeper than before, they are no longer boys. They are part of the river of ancestors. Family is sacred. Elders are not merely respected, they are obeyed. Their stories are law, their laughter, prophecy. Women lead households with quiet authority, weaving their power into the everyday in how they cook, speak, sing, and mourn. Their hands are the architects of both heritage and healing. The Xhosa relationship with the spiritual is intimate and constant. Ancestral spirits are consulted through divination, dreams, and intwaso, a calling to become a healer. These spiritual guides, often women, become vessels of unseen wisdom, bridging the waking world with the sacred realm of those who came before. Though apartheid scattered and wounded, though poverty lingers and opportunities are often distant, the Xhosa endure with a strength that sings. In their beadwork, in their hymns, in the firelight cast on painted rondavels at dusk, they show us a truth the modern world often forgets: that identity is not found in progress, but in rootedness. And so the rural Xhosa remain part earth, part dream, speaking the wisdom of the hills in a voice only the land can fully understand. The Tswana, grassland areas of Botswana and South Africa. Across the wide plains of southern Africa, where the earth rolls out like an endless canvas and the sun sketches shadows beneath umbrella acacia trees, the Tswana people have built a culture that listens closely to the land. This is not a place of drama or extremes, not desert, not jungle, but a landscape of balance. It is steady, soft-spoken, and strong, like the people who call it home. The Tswana, known for their quiet dignity and measured speech, are among the most numerous ethnic groups in Botswana, but their roots stretch into neighboring South Africa as well. In the rural stretches, life follows an ancient rhythm: livestock grazing beneath thorn trees, women weaving baskets from grass and palm, men discussing politics and philosophy beneath shade. Their homesteads, clusters of thatched huts arranged in rings, mirror the circular logic of life. Everything comes back to the center. At the core of Tswana life is Kagotla, the traditional community council. It is more than a meeting. It is democracy before the word existed here. Elders gather under trees to hear disputes, debate decisions, weigh truths. Everyone speaks. Everyone listens. Justice is not rushed. It is shaped like clay. Slowly, carefully, communally. And in this, the Tswana model, a lesson the world still struggles to learn: that peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of patience. Cattle are the heartbeat of tradition, symbols of status and survival. But beyond economics, they connect generations. A cow given as lobola, a bride gift, becomes not just payment, but a bridge between families. An agreement sealed in hooves and horns, not contracts. Music rises in soft waves, not as spectacle, but as intimacy. Hands clap, feet shuffle. Harmonies bloom like wildflowers in open fields. Proverbs flow like water from elder to youth. Ngwana o salele o aswela. A child who does not cry will die in silence. In Tswana culture, speaking is survival, but speaking with grace that is wisdom. To be Tswana is to carry heritage not as a burden, but as a quiet fire, steady, warm, illuminating the path forward. In these grasslands, where drama hides in subtlety, the Tswana have shown that strength can be gentle and that the future belongs to those who listen. The Sotho, high-veld grasslands in Lesotho and South Africa. High in the mountains of southern Africa, where clouds graze the hilltops and the wind carries stories across ridges, the Basotho people have built a culture of altitude both in geography and in spirit. Their homeland, Lesotho, is the only country in the world entirely above 1,000 meters. But this is not just a land of peaks. It is a cradle of resilience. To live here is to live with the weather, not beneath it. Rain comes in sheets. Frost clings to grass like whispered warnings. And yet, in the face of this raw climate, the Basotho endure with grace. Their homes, stone-walled, thatched-roofed, hugged by mountain slopes, are built to embrace the storm. Their people, wrapped in iconic woolen blankets, stride through the cold with a calm born of centuries. The Basotho blanket is more than warmth. It is history worn on the shoulders, a gift at birth, a shroud in death, a marker of marriage, royalty, manhood. Each pattern holds meaning. Each fold carries story. To wear it is to be seen, not just by the living, but by those who came before. Horses here are not luxury, they are lifeline. The Basotho pony, small and strong, is bred to scale cliffs and carve paths where no roads exist. Children learn to ride before they learn to write. In mountain villages, you hear hoofbeats before you hear voices. The land is vast, but the people are never alone. The Sotho language, Sesotho, is woven with poetry, soft consonants, long vowels, deep meanings. Proverbs bloom like alpine flowers. Bitso lebe ke seromo. A bad name is a curse. Identity matters. Words matter. And in Sotho culture, silence is never empty. It is waiting for the right truth to arrive. At the center of life is Bongaka, a traditional healing system that connects illness to spiritual imbalance, dreams to diagnoses. Healers use herbs, chants, and ancestral invocation to bring the soul back into alignment. Because here, health is not just physical, it is a harmony of body, mind, and memory. To be Basotho is to live with your head in the clouds and your feet firmly in the past. In the high-veld grasslands, they remind us that isolation need not mean loneliness, that community can be carved from stone, and that the higher you live, the deeper your roots must grow. The Ndebele, grassland regions of Zimbabwe. Across the open grasslands where Zimbabwe folds into South Africa's northern plateaus, the Ndebele people have painted their lives into permanence not only on the walls of their homes, but onto the skin of history itself. Here, in villages where houses bloom like flowers in bright geometrics, culture is not preserved in silence. It is celebrated in color. To be Ndebele is to speak a language of design. Their homes, square, smooth, and deliberate, are canvases for bold murals passed down from mother to daughter. Shapes are not chosen for decoration, but for meaning. Triangles, zigzags, arrows, each stroke is a code. A message to the community, a tribute to ancestry, a signature of strength. Even in poverty, the walls speak proudly. The Ndebele were once warriors forged in fire during the upheavals of the 19th century, when their ancestors split from the Zulu kingdom under King Mzilikazi. That warrior past still hums beneath the surface of everyday life. In ceremonial dress, men don feathers and beads with the weight of memory. Women, adorned with thick neck rings and layered aprons, carry themselves with the poise of royalty. Every outfit is a statement. We are still here. We remember. Marriage among the Ndebele is not a private affair. It is a rolling festival of music, negotiation, dance, and transformation. A bride is adorned in layers of beadwork not just as ornament, but as archive. Beads are read like books, each color spelling stories of lineage, love, and legacy. And when she walks into her new home, she does so with the dignity of a woman who carries history on her shoulders. Though urban migration has pulled many away from rural life, the soul of Ndebele culture persists in community. Elders gather not to lecture, but to share. Children learn not by command, but by craft, their hands guided as they learn to paint, bead, and build. Identity is not given. It is practiced. In a world that often dulls tradition into gray, the Ndebele remind us that resistance can be beautiful, that heritage can be bright, and that even silence can speak in color. The Lozi, floodplain savanna, along the Zambezi, Zambia. Where the Zambezi River stretches like a silver serpent across western Zambia, the Lozi people live in tune with the breath of water. Their land is not still. It pulses. It transforms. Each year, as the rains fall in distant highlands, the great river swells and spills its banks, turning savanna into sea. And when that moment comes, the Lozi do not flee. They float. This transformation is not chaos, it is ritual. It is rhythm. And at the heart of it stands Kwamboka, the royal river migration unlike any other on earth. As the floodwaters rise, the Lozi king, the Lutunga, leaves his dry season palace in a ceremonial barge carved with zebra stripes and crowned with an elephant. Accompanied by paddlers in full regalia, drums echo across the floodplain as thousands line the banks to watch the ancient procession. But the Lozi are more than spectacle. They are engineers of adaptation. For generations, they have lived between two worlds, one of mud and reed in the floodplain, one of firm ground in the forested highlands. Their homes are built to rise and fall with the tides. Their boats, narrow and quick, glide across swollen rivers like extensions of the human body. And in every move, they read the water like a map written in motion. Their governance, too, flows like the river, layered, ceremonial, and deeply rooted in consensus. Traditional courts operate with respect for balance, not dominance. Leadership is earned, not imposed. And the king, though regal, is also servant, the physical embodiment of the people's unity with land, law, and spirit. Spirituality among the Lozi is not confined to shrines. It lives in the fog that drapes the floodplain at dawn, in the fish pulled from nets woven with ancestral knowledge, in the songs that rise from dugout canoes as paddles dip and rise like wings in water. To be Lozi is to trust change, to live not in opposition to nature, but within its flow. And in a time when the world resists uncertainty, the Lozi show that strength lies in surrender not to weakness, but to the wisdom of water. The Venda, savanna woodlands of Limpopo. Beneath the brooding cliffs and mist-soaked forests of Limpopo, where sacred lakes hide secrets and the earth pulses with stories, the Venda people live in a world where the visible and invisible dance side by side. Their homeland, tucked in the far northeastern corner of South Africa, feels different, even to outsiders. Wilder, older, alive. The Venda are protectors of sacred places. Lake Fundudzi, cradled between mountains, is more than water. It is a living spirit. To look upon it is to feel watched. To approach it without reverence is to invite imbalance. Here, legends swirl like mist, of white crocodiles, of ancient rulers, of serpents sleeping beneath the surface. And the Venda do not merely believe these stories, they live them. Their society is rooted in ancestral veneration. Every action, every rite, is tethered to those who came before. In the shade of baobab trees, where roots reach as deep as memory, the Venda hold on to a truth much of the world has forgotten, that the land is not ours to own, it is ours to honor, and that the unseen world is not less real, It is simply more patient. The Mursi, Omo Valley grasslands, Ethiopia. In the far reaches of southwestern Ethiopia, where the grasslands of the Omo Valley bleed into rugged hills and the sky feels endlessly watchful, the Mursi people live as both guardians of tradition and survivors of isolation. Their world is stark, elemental, shaped by wind, fire, silence, and the haunting rhythm of ancestral memory. To outsiders, the Mursi are often reduced to spectacle. The lip plates worn by women wide, circular discs stretching the lower lip are misunderstood, exoticized, even ridiculed. But to the Mursi, these plates are not ornaments. They are identity. They are lineage made visible. They are statements whispered across generations. We belong to no one but ourselves. The practice begins in adolescence, slowly, carefully. A girl's lower lip is pierced, stretched, and adorned not by force, but by choice. As the plate grows, so does her connection to a history that resists erasure. Each scar, each symbol etched into the body, becomes a living archive, a way of speaking without words in a world where voice has often been silenced. The Mursi are pastoralists, walking with their cattle across a land that is both gift and trial. The grass grows, then withers. Rivers swell, then vanish. And yet the Mursi remain moving, adapting, holding to a rhythm that outsiders rarely hear. Boys become warriors through trials of endurance. Men adorn their bodies with white chalk patterns before ceremonies and dances that echo with drumming feet and the clash of sticks. But theirs is not a culture frozen in time. It is a negotiation between past and present. Roads now cross their territory. Tourists arrive, cameras raised. Government pressures nudge them toward settlement, regulation, submission. And yet the Mursi persist not in nostalgia, but in defiance. Their strength lies not in the rejection of change, but in the refusal to forget. In the twilight of the Omo, where the dust glows gold and the cattle return in long shadows, the Mursi remind us that beauty can be fierce, that silence can be sacred, and that tradition, when rooted in the soul, cannot be uprooted by the world. The Pokot, Rift Valley grasslands of Kenya and Uganda. In the Rift Valley's dry corridors, where acacia trees stretch like ink lines against the wide Kenyan and Ugandan sky, the Pokot people move through a world forged by endurance. Their land is a place of tension between drought and rain, tradition and change, silence and song. And through it all, the Pokot endure not by resisting the land, but by becoming part of its rhythm. They are pastoralists, herders of goats and cattle who read the land not with maps, but with memory. A cracked riverbed speaks to them like an old friend. The scent of dust on wind tells them which direction the rains will take. Waterholes are not just geographic features, they are lifelines, fiercely guarded, generously shared, sanctified by centuries of reliance. Pokot boys grow into warriors in stages marked not by birthdays, but by initiation rites carved in pain and pride. Circumcision, isolation, discipline. These are not just cultural practices, they are transformation. And when a boy returns from the bush, silent and scarred, his posture says what words cannot. He is no longer a child. Women among the Pokot hold quiet power. They tend the homes built of mud and woven grass, raise the fires that warm the night, and wear their heritage in layered beads and brass ornaments that speak of age, marriage, and strength. Their songs float over the plains at dusk, soft and resilient lullabies and laments wrapped into one. The Pokot are not a homogeneous people. Some lead lives almost entirely pastoral, others farm along fertile hills, and still others have moved into towns and trading centers. But even with this diversity, a deep cultural unity endures tied to ancestry, to the land, and to the sacred logic of cattle. In recent years, violence has shadowed their story raids, political neglect, border tensions. But beneath these headlines lies a people whose wisdom runs deeper than any conflict. The Pokot know how to wait. They know how to walk without losing direction. And in a world rushing toward the future, they remain grounded in the past, not because they are stuck, but because their roots run that deep. The Kipsigis, highland grasslands in Kenya's Rift Valley. High in the emerald folds of Kenya's western Rift Valley, where the morning mists wrap around cypress trees and tea plantations ripple across hills like green silk, the Kipsigis people live with the clarity of elevation. Their world is quieter here, not in sound, but in spirit. A land of rain-fed soil, soft winds, and traditions that flow like streams between generations. The Kipsigis are part of the larger Kalenjin cluster renowned runners. Yes, but even more so, keepers of time-tested wisdom. In these highlands, community is not a slogan, it is a lifeline. Homes are built not just for shelter, but as circles of belonging. Children grow not in isolation, but in the embrace of uncles, aunties, grandparents, a social fabric woven tight and warm. Initiation marks the soul. For generations, Tumdo, the sacred rite of passage, has prepared boys to become men. It's not just a ceremony, it's a spiritual pilgrimage, a journey into the forest, away from the village, into the heart of courage. There, boys receive teachings whispered under stars, stories layered with metaphor, and instructions for living with honor. They return not with boast, but with composure. A quiet man is a respected man. Agriculture is a heartbeat here. The land is generous, and the Kipsigis meet it with gratitude. Fields of maize, sorghum and bananas stretch into the horizon. Tea leaves shimmer in the afternoon sun. And in the middle of it all, women powerful, industrious, laughing, carry baskets on their heads and histories in their bones. Music and oral storytelling run like rivers through Kipsigis culture. Elders recall epic migrations and ancestral feats with poetic rhythm. Songs are sung in praise of cattle, of love, of warriors, and of harvest. And when people dance, it is not for spectacle, it is for memory, for unity, for grounding in something older than time. Though modernity knocks, the Kipsigis walk with balance. They embrace the new, but not at the expense of the old. Their resilience is quiet. Their pride is unshaken. And in their forests, in their fields, in their firelit evenings, they hold on to something precious. The knowledge that life, when lived close to the land and close to each other, is enough. Across the open grasslands, from the high-veld winds to the floodplain waters, these tribes have lived in rhythm with the land, resilient, rooted, and proud. Their stories stretch far beyond borders, carried in songs, cattle trails, and ancient footsteps. The Karamojong, savanna and plains of northeastern Uganda. In the sun-hardened plains of Karamoja, where northeastern Uganda meets the edge of wilderness, the Karamojong live with the land the way fire lives with wind, fierce, flickering, inseparable. This is not a land of abundance. It is a land of grit, bone, and sky. A place where survival is not a right, but a ritual. And the Karamojong have made that ritual an art. They are cattle people, warriors, poets of endurance. In a region where rainfall is unreliable and the soil cracks with thirst, cattle are not just resources, they are rhythm, religion, and refuge. A Karamojong boy learns to tend cows before he learns to write. He learns that life moves with the herd, and that each animal is a thread in the fabric of his identity. Cows are named, sung to, mourned when lost, celebrated when born. They are dowry, currency, kin. If this journey moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from the heart of the earth. And drop a comment which tribe amazed you the most?